Hi everyone, today is 20th of January, last session of the January month. So we'll start with a low time frame and then we'll go higher, cover weekly and monthly as well, cover other key macro data points like DXY, dollar index, and also US bond yields. Those are the two important factors that affect BTC as we know, and then whatever happens to BTC happens to rest of the coin. So it's important to track them and see what they're trying to do. And of course, if any other topic that I think um, another thing is the Fed's meeting is going to happen. So next week has a couple of events, including I think it's on Thursday or Wednesday. I forgot, but that's a super important event, the rate hike. So we'll have to see. Maybe since we talked about it, we can start with it. Excuse me. So the market is expecting 25 basis points because the spending also is now has come down. The day before yesterday's report indicated, and then the core inflation has also has come down a little, not in a big way, but little. So at least that will help Fed to slow down. So the market is expecting 25 basis point, 0.025, sorry, 0.25 percentage of hike. And the stock market is also rallying. I'm talking about the US stock market and the European stock market. The Asian stock market has different fundamentals, though they are related, but primarily they are different. But so the European stock market actually going up for two reasons. One is the anticipation as um, inflation in the US is moderating, and second thing is China reopening. So there are some positives. One is the COVID is not widely spreaded except China, and China is a major supply hub. We know, and now it has reopened. So the pressure on inflation is expected to be gone down. It should reduce because there are two sides of two sides of pressure. One is the supply chain constraint because of COVID in China, and the demand side where the liquidity was very high because of low interest rate. So there were the inflation was usually the inflation is driven by single factors, either supply or demand. But this is the recent phase where we had both the sides because of the war and COVID in the China. There was supply side pressure and total disruption of supply chain in many cases, and demand side problem because of low interest rates. So both of the factors, both the conditions occurred or triggered at the same time. And that was, I think, in my point of view, it was a major reason. So the interest rates, aggressive interest rate has constrained the spending, um, and I think supply chain has given some kind of relief. And but these are like long-term thing, means the effect takes time, few months, and that's the anticipation the market is having, and that's why the stocks are rallying, and that's why the money is also flowing into crypto. So that's my assessment on inflation side and factors that are related to inflation. Um, since we are talking about macro factors first, let's also open the DXY, and then we'll start with BTC. So the DXY had this very one or two kind of a level, very key level we had highlighted, and that's why it's consolidating. Now this consolidation may end up with another leg down. That's something we have to wait and watch. Each time it bounces, it still affecting BTC in one way or other, or in not just BTC, but NASDAQ as well. Basically growth stock index. And if you look at it on a lower time frame, especially the last 2 days, it's trying to bounce. It's not able to break above, but definitely it doesn't want to go down. So this is something we have to watch out next week, in my opinion. But not necessarily it will go all the way. In my point of view, we have to worry only if it breaks above 103, which is this higher upper support line. It may come in this zone, but breaking above this would be a real challenge, in my opinion, from its behavior point of view. So far, so good. There's no threat, but this is something we had to watch out. US, this is Treasury. So below support, I was expecting it to go down. It hasn't gone down yet. Just a moment. So this is US Treasury yields. The bonds and yields go in opposite direction, and the yields go up with the higher interest rate when the bonds are dumped. That's how it works. So this is a super critical support that I had highlighted weeks ago, long time ago. There was a good bounce from here, and then here also it break below, but not quite, not a clean breakdown, I would say. So it's here. So I'm not saying this is a dotted line and this is a solid line. Now it has to be moved because the breakdown didn't happen from here. So we will see how it goes. And dotted line indicates that this scenario is less likely compared to this, but it has always a condition that if this bounce continues and reaches certain height, then this becomes the solid line, means the probable scenario, and then this becomes a dotted line. But at this moment, the pressure, downside pressure is still high. So I'm keeping the same setup. And again, when this also bounces, the growth stock goes down, or at least they feel pressure. And also we see the impact on BTC. So these are the two key charts, dollar index and 10-year yield that I track. Of course, there are other data points as well, but I think these are strong ones. Okay. Trend point of view, I'm talking about. Okay. Trend point of view. And another thing is people think that, oh, a DXY bounce, and no, it doesn't follow each and every hour. So if that is another misconception, that it's not hour by hour. Sometime the yield could go up and BTC could go up as well. But here the focus is the trend. The trend, this is the high, and this is, so it's right now in a counter trend. It's in a correction, and in between there are bounces. So this is how it has to be looked in, right? Not even daily. Forget about hour by hour. Not necessarily every day. Okay, so this is clarification. So these are inversely proportional data points, but not necessarily it's like, not like a pendulum that one goes down, other goes up. So chronologically not synced, in other words. Okay, so let's look at monthly. And monthly, if you look at the monthly candle, is still red, and you can say this is second touch on the support. So the pressure is still high on the downside, that's for sure. So this could go all below. If it goes below 3, that would be a big win in my point of view. The market will love it. And but a big picture point of view, the trend is not broken. The trend began in 2020. As you see, even if it began in 2020, market didn't go down right away because it had some threshold point. When it started going down only after uh, January, because then it broke this level somewhere here. Then it started going down, and maybe a trend line, simple trend line could explain that in month of February, this is where it broke the downtrend line, and that's why the acceleration. I mean, yeah, acceleration or downturn for the stock market began. It started from January in anticipation that it's likely to break above. So this is what happens. So similar thing could happen that we don't have enough base, maybe because it's topping out, let's say, right? If it is, if it continues to go down, in that case, at this moment we can say this is a local top, but it has to break below 2.4, something like that, to say okay, now it is coming down. Like here we can say this is a potential bottom, but here only we can say this is on uptrend, because then because certain height in different charts measure that okay, now this is not just a bounce, but a new trend. And now we see the new trend. Similarly, we see this is a potential top, and if it continues to go down at a certain point in time, maybe this one, we can say okay, now it has broken down, right? Something like that. So then we can say the long-term trend begins. So everything what we see here, for an example, in this case, this was also a good connection, this was also not bad, and this is also similar one, but these are episodes. So we have to understand that um, what are recovery attempts. These are recovery attempts, what we see in the stock market and BTC. Okay, the recovery attempts in stock market is more prominent. If you look at the index, they are stronger than BTC. We'll not go into that, but we'll come back here. But a point, what I'm trying to say is, even if these yields are going up, there were phases where it corrected, and those correction give a boost to the growth stock and BTC, right? But not necessarily it would break the trend. So our focus is both. We would like to take advantage of this bounce from BTC, whatever is going on from 16K or so. And of course, we would like to ride it all the way through. However, calls like this will have a checkpoint where we'll assess that whatever we are seeing at this moment, the recovery bounce, does it have energy? Is it likely? Is it likely to continue? And that's the assessment we do in call like this. And I think that's the, so this is why I believe that we have other posts and calls, but this weekly meeting is a super important meeting in my point of view, because this is where you get the long-term direction and long-term trend, because there is going to be ups and down during the week. But as long as you understand the trend, as long as we follow the trend, uh, we have better judgment, and we can minimize in and out, because one of the reasons why people lose a lot because of frequent in and out. There can be some requirements sometimes, because if somebody has put a lot of money, that come under pressure and all. But those who are going slowly, which I mentioned long back, so I won't repeat it, that those who start slow and think longer end up with more profit. But this is my own experience, and I have seen in chart as well. Those who are trying to aggressive, thinking that now or never, that kind of a mentality, they put a lot of money, and you cannot time the market all the times, because Today, for an example, we see on India is 20% up, but and here in active list also a few coins are up, but not necessarily everything is up. Some coin would also go down, and it happens. So you cannot time it. You cannot just time the breakout and breakdown. And some of the alts move like 20%, and not many people put 20% stop loss. Now the 20% stop loss is also not easy, because if you're stopped out, you lose 20% of the money, which is significant. So the only method works is go slow. This is not advice, but best practices. One of the best practices that start small. I'm not talking about turtle and rabbit kind of a race. I'm saying start like a turtle and continue after that like a rabbit. I think that's something. So it's not the same analogy, but I'll just improvise on that. So because when one starts with small amount, the stop loss can be deeper. So 20% money is 1/5 of risk. That means if the coin is likely to swing 20%, but if you have 20% money in the game, means 1/5 of the money, that means risk is also 1/5. That means not 20%, but 4% only for that coin. And when the so the I'm highlighting where people lose money and why people lose money, because they love to take fast moving coins, and they love to put 100% money, and they don't take care of stop loss. Their stop loss could be very shallow, and they are stopped out frequently. And when coin moves like 20%, and if one is stopped out 3-4 times, then you can imagine he would lose everything, almost everything. So that's why people lose it. And call like this, my focus is play long, start small, right? And follow the trend. This is the way to go. And this is swing trading. Swing trading is where this is a swing. It's not about, I mean, you can say following the bull trend or whatever, but swing trading is the term in terms of trading. But it's the same thing basically. You ride the wave and then leave it, or start reducing when you think that it's topping out. So this is a strategy. And similarly, when uptrend begins, uptrend means not that complete reversal, but a recovery, which we are now going to see in BTC. The small start can be done like turtle, like move, and then as it progresses, one can put more and more and more, and then because then by the time you would have enough profit, and then there's no stop loss. In reality, there's no stop loss like that. There's no need to have stop loss. Once one has enough profitability, enough profit. So that's the beauty, and that's where the fun begins. Otherwise, every day, every other day, that guy is struggling. Sorry for that. Okay, let's come back to our coins. So I'll start with BTC and go through all the active coins. I'll start at a lower time frame. Okay, quick recap. So it took off from here. Amazing, or I would say crazy move. And then consolidation. When the resistance was highlighted, we had this resistance zone, remember, and also support. It bounced and then recovered. Also, this was highlighted, right? And an amazing breakout after that. And again, when it broke above, we added this resistance zone and also support. And as you could see, there are touches, and here also multiple touches, right? But not really breakdown. So I've been saying this is positive consolidation. Now, mind sometime is not able to accept that whatever is happening is not forever. And that is true, but point is that kind of a thinking is negative thinking, and it creates anxiety and fear, and one could lead to wrong decision. Same time, I'm not saying that this is a reverse, this has reversed, because this is still in a recovery phase. However, those who follow key levels have that confidence that there's no need to think about even bull or bear. It doesn't matter at all. And those who are following for long term now probably realize that it really doesn't matter. Those, of course, for those who cannot short, it matters, because that person would just sit idle. But at least he or she would know that the bull or bear are just, these are direction. What is important is to be right on direction. That's number one thing, and right on the key levels, because key levels are like checkpoints, and the checkpoints related planning help us how what to add, when to add, like how much to add, those kind of decision making. And everybody has different entry points. Everybody's planning would be different, right? So these are few things I keep repeating, and it's important sometimes, because especially when this kind of sideways consolidation goes on for long, people get impatient, people get bored sometimes, and that's why it attacks, because that's where people make mistake, and they're in frustration. Either they get out, like in this situation, they say, oh, it's going down, it's get, because it's not breaking above, they get frustrated. So whenever it happens, we are human, it happens. But if it is happening less and less, consider that as progress. Being a trader, I'm saying, okay, because being a trader, your ultimate goal is to become emotionless. Means, not, I mean, it's very hard. You can express emotion, but there is a difference. Your emotion is not going to go away, so don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is, one would be fearful, one would be totally like in euphoria, right? Euphoric. But those that state of mind should not affect your buy sell. So you have to separate them out. So being human, we cannot prevent or avoid feelings, but only check that you have to have a wall or partition, that they are not affecting the buy sell. You're not clicking the button based on those emotions. So that's the only thing you have to take care. And if you're making progress, consider that you are making progress being a professional trader. Otherwise, there is problem, because this is a crazy game, 24/7, and a lot of volatility. So it's not going to help. So those who are able to separate out emotion with decision making will do wonder. And it's easy to do when we know key levels. Otherwise, it's hard. Okay, so to me, I had highlighted a breakout couple of times, and it also broke above, but not quite able to hold, which we cannot do. And especially this one was good one, but failed. This was also not bad, but failed. And again, there's nothing to worry about, because it's still here, right? It's still at a breakout level, up and down, and above the support and in the resistance zone. So that there's nothing to worry. Okay. And another thing that you must have noticed, that BTC sideline movement doesn't affect alts. Alts keep going up because they don't care. They care only if BTC goes down. So that's another thing that you must have noticed. And they are blind followers often. Even BTC's 0.5% movement is actually 5-10% movement for some of the coins. So you have to be careful. And that's where my earlier points make sense. That the altcoins are still in momentum and still doing well. But 0.5% of movement from BTC could really impact. So it's very important when you deal with alts, the sizing matters. If you can master sizing, then you master everything, right? Because that's one of the culprit, or one of the root causes why people lose the money. Sizing. which is essentially how much money to be spent to start with. And another rule which is obvious and following is add more only when one is in profit. Now people do buy the dip and try to average out. That is good only when the uptrend is established. When the uptrend is established, that it makes sense because then your average cost goes down. But remember, this is recovery phase. Buy the dip here is super risky because this could be, let's say, hypothetically, if this is a top and if it goes down and you try to buy on dip, the risk that I see that in that case, what if it doesn't come to that level? And because the still, if you look at economical economy and other, those are not back on track. They're improving, as I mentioned, but they are not as usual. So this is still a phase where we're taking advantage of the bounce, but so that in this scenario, buy the dip is super risky. So again, there are strategies, buy the dip and all, but DCA, like dollar cost average, but when to use is very important. There are so many things available, but one has to decide what to use when. That matters a lot. So I personally would not average out in this market. Okay. I would rather start small and then keep adding and ramp up as it goes up. That's a better strategy. But once it goes up and then, yeah, and then reverses, then anytime it corrects, then I would love to average out because the trend is established. So that's an advantage. Every dip is then is going to reduce my average cost. Then it makes sense, right? In that case also, one can continue buying on the rise because that's more like affirmation that you get, right? So again, not advice, but best practices that I would like to share. And this is important phase we are entering. Why? Because now it's at 23K. So 20, 20, 24, 25K kind of a zone that you see in the pink higher. And then 27K. These are the two next major checkpoints. So we could see a nice a rally touching this zone, little bit of a correction or range bound movement over there, and then go for 27K and so on. So we will see how long this lasts, and it may continue, it may not, but it will come to know. At least trend level, we won't have any surprise, that's for sure. Okay, every day one cannot just figure it out what level it's going to, and that's not even important. Okay, so I think understanding the price action is nature. When you trade alts, what should be the mindset? What should be the percentage composition in terms of like compared to slower moving to faster moving and a pumping coin? Those are different categories. Like some high cap do not pump a lot. Some mid range pump a lot, and some like which had low volume could pump even 100% or more. So there are different flavors, and trader has to decide that what we are supposed to allocate, like 5% for the ultra fast, maybe 20% for slow one, and 15% for medium, that kind of a thing. Because then this is how you reduce the impact. There's no way you can control the market, but only position sizing is the way to control the risk. Because if the coin is going to move up crazy, it could also go down crazy without telling you. And timing is extremely difficult in 24/7 market. It's not about TA. It's just because sometimes when they pump, when they dump, you never know. But when you have larger participation, the accuracy of TA also goes up because like BTC, Ethereum, and some of the top volume coin. In a volume, not just random volume. I'm talking about consistent volume. So I hope you got my point. there. So it's very important that even if it is slow, think long term, and that's where you get the benefit. For chasing pump and dump, you cannot time it, but for fun, one may play around, you know. But remember, how much to spend is super critical. Nobody gets wealthy, otherwise, nobody on the earth will remain poor. The reality is, it seems that this went up by X percentage, Y percentage, but one cannot really time it. So, because if everybody is able to time, nobody remain poor. And so the point is, it's not realistic. What is realistic is think long term and focus more on the steady coin. And as I said, for fun, one may try out something, but it should without risking the portfolio. Very important. But they are so tempting. They're so tempting. But yeah, so any coin goes up so much, they can they can go down so much as well, same proportionally. So one has to be ready. Often traders are not ready on downside. They would love to see coin pumping, but when they have to face the downturn, they're not ready. So the another point that I always mention, never click the buy button without knowing what is my exit point and what is my risk if I'm stopping out. And not having stop loss is a crime. Okay. Not calculating a risk before buying is a crime. Trading related crimes. Okay. So, and if you're doing crime, then you are in trouble anyways, right? Just a metaphor. I mean, the point is, it's about seriousness of why we need to. So everybody must calculate what is my exit point, not profit booking. Everybody asks for profit booking, but the most important thing is the seeding when you start, because that's where you have to assess the risk. Once it flies, then it doesn't. So sometime I post on Trident that it's breaking out, and then somebody asks resistance. Okay, I'm giving resistance, but it's not so important because BTC is not dead. So why it's not important? You just enjoy it, because once you get a profit to start with, which I'm doing, right? I'm not leaving that coin unless it breaks above, and then it's like a kite flying. If you have done that one, once it takes up, if you start flying kite, the hardest part when it starts, but then it's the wind takes care of it, and then you have to of course control it, but not when you compared to when you start. So I'm doing that kind of thing. So once the kite takes some height, the what you need is wind, the trend, and that. So you take care of it. Then I'm not needed. So, but sometime I think I'm mixing it. But those sometime what I observe that people think that resistance are endpoints. Resistance are not endpoints. There are checkpoints. Someone commented that I exited APT. Uh, of course, that's his personal decision long back. But then question is why? And but that there is no right answer because it's a personal decision. But my point is, if market is going up, if the BTC is not going down, also doing well, then what is the real hurry? Because another thing is, another impractical thing is, people think that this coin has gone up too much. Nobody knows what is too much. The definition of too much is self-portrayed, and nobody knows in reality. Yeah, TA can find out weakness for sure, but ordinary trader cannot just figure it out. So resistance cannot be assumed as endpoint. There are checkpoints. And don't think that this has gone up a lot. Now it's time to change, as if this is exhausted and now I want some fresh one. And that will also do the same wonder. This is a mistake, because the one that has momentum could do better than one you think may do well, because you are like leaving the winning horse, assuming it has gone old. and it is unlikely to perform. That's an assumption. There's another thing. Never trade based on assumptions. It doesn't work. So this is another point that I would like to highlight, because this is the ways where many coins have gone up, and people starts thinking that if I change something which hasn't gone up, probably I'll get the same benefit. That's a mistake in my point of view, because it is possible that, see, each and every bull trend, if you noticed, there are certain coins which perform like throughout, like so, whether you see Luna, Sol, Theta, Waves, many coins like that, they perform like in 5-digit percentage, like 20,000, 40,000 percentage. So many other coins, of course, but they it's not that. So you cannot just determine in months, few days or few weeks that they're done. Yeah, they will correct, they will consolidate, they will not do anything, but they cannot be dead unless the big guy is dead, in my point of view. In history, unless the coin has its own problem, like what happened with FTT or something like that, the coin, altcoin, do not go down. I mean, trend point of view, not correction, trend point of view, if BTC doesn't go down. Remember, so if altcoin is doing well, and if BTC is not going down in terms of trend, then there is no reason to think that alt will go down. Unless, as I said, the problem is with the project, or it get hacked, or something crazy happens, which is beyond anyone's control. In those cases, those are exceptions. But in normal case, coin may take rest, but not necessarily. You will see some of the coins go up, and you cannot time. Now, Flux is today 22% up. Now, nobody can say it's going to be 22% today. What you see red here, one FTT, so we saw FTM went up significantly. So different day, different coin is going to make pump, and you really cannot time it. You have to be with that coin. Otherwise, it's too late. If you see that coin as Flux is 22%, you are late for today. I'm not saying you're late forever, but you're late for today, because 22%, it might go to 30%, but there's limit. You lost today. So it doesn't mean Flux is not good. But the point is, the other coin could do the same or similar on some other day. So those who keep changing, thinking that, oh, hey, what I'm having is not pumping, let me buy something which is pumping, that's a mistake. If you keep hopping like that, you will see in a long term, you end up with lesser profit than one who is holding coin which is trending. So the crux is, don't expect coin is going to pump every day. Don't expect that, don't assume that your coin is exhausted, especially active coin, because we'll call it out. If a coin is really not doing well, we'll replace it with something else. So if we are not throwing it away, it's good, in other words. So that's how it is. Okay, so I hope you find this again, probably I might not have added something new, but sometime I explain in different ways, so it helps, because it's so tempting to change coins every other day, like fashion. Anyways, so this is the a breakout on the upside, coming back to BTC, is imminent. We cannot time it, but it's imminent. It could happen anytime. Okay, there is no probability of breakdown at this moment. However, we know the support is this, right? There's always a condition, and there's nothing wrong about it, right? Because many people, or many even TA, think that they know the future. That's bullshit. Nothing, it doesn't happen like that. Nobody knows the future. No, if that person is knowing the future, not doing the charity by coming to social media and other, he will spend time in his own. um so that's not the reality. I struggle all the times. I have confidence. When I say struggle, means it's a hard work behind the scene, that you have to, when I say I'm the breakout on the upside is imminent, there's work, there's analysis going on. One cannot just think about that he knows something. No, I don't know. I work on it, And then outcome of that work tells me what to say. So the work is behind the scene. And when it makes a crazy move, like this was nice breakout, but then it retraced crazy. Like if you look at the 1 hour time frame, this rejection was crazy. And when it happens, I'm back in the business. You won't believe. You don't see that. But I'm working behind the scene and trying to assess, because I don't want to just throw and keep posting, hey, it got rejected, because it disturbs you and it creates anxiety in you. And what does it mean and all? What I'm trying to shield so many times, that even if this rejection happened, even this got close, I would just simply say it touched, or so you would know in case you're not aware. But it, the point is, it's not a risk. Sometime, yeah. So that's what I do behind the scene. So this was the rejection happened, and I wasn't alert. Oh wow, what a rejection! But then I see what it's trying to do behind the scene. So it's like that. So many things go on behind the scene. It's not that I know the future. It's going to touch this level and that level. This is every day I have to look into the chart and see how it is doing, and sometimes even more frequently than a day, once in a day, especially when it makes big movement. So that's exhausting behind the scene, to be honest. Okay, but as you go higher time frame, because I really give update at a low time frame. That's why. If I operate only at a higher time frame, I don't have to do all this. So the hard work is because I give uh 12 hours or 1 day kind of level. That's why. Otherwise, if I track on a weekly, it doesn't. I don't need to. One post in a week is good enough, or one this call is enough probably. Anyways, so this is at a lower time frame. I think this. Let's look at the weekly. Okay. So it took off from here. It's yeah, on this downtrend line. It's trying to break above, and this is where we're expecting to touch, and then we'll see what it wants to do, go further or retrace, and retraces. If it retraces, how much? Of course, in worst case scenario, if it keep trying and fails and consolidate, then I'll highlight if it wants to go down, but not this week, not today, not now, but just in case, because this is an important milestone, that's for sure. 23K, right? But the current setup is indicating breakout on the upside, but seeing is believing. We have to see that happening. But if it tries to do something else, then we'll see. And as I mentioned, the Fed is the major driver. So I hope there is no surprises, because I have to use word hope only in this case, because that is totally unknown thing, and unknown and certain thing. There are very few events which are unknown and certain. Certain in sense the consequence is certain. Unknown means they are going to do is unknown, but the consequence of what they do is certain. So we had to, those events are very important. Unknown events, but the consequences are certain, means direct impact. That's why. Anyway, so this is weekly. Very important, very important. This level is very important. Each checkpoint has importance. This is special in my point of view. This trend line is special. Anyways, so far so good. So we'll move on. We'll also have a quick look at the monthly without chart, and a without drawings. The beautiful candle, right? Monthly. And what we would like to see, another green candle breaking above this cluster 25K. And then we'll see some resistance around 32K on a monthly time frame. Okay, so the resistance level on a different time frames are different, just to let you know. As you go lower, you find more support and resistance. It's like your elevated view, right? When you are just above your street level, you see all the houses. When you go higher, then you see your city. And then you go higher, then you may not see your house, but the city and other region and so on. So when you go higher, you lose that granularity, those supports and resistance. So that's how the same thing here. When you go higher at a monthly time frame, your resistance and support changes. Like you don't track at 23, 25K. It's higher. So the next major one from a monthly point of view is 32K. And that's the ultimate one for now. Okay. All right, so monthly looks awesome, and then we'll see how next month will offer us. Yeah, so far so good. Okay, so we'll come down to weekly and go through all the alts alphabetically. This should be fast because we understood the macro factors, we understood the guidelines, we understood the Bitcoin, and right. And now alts are, as I said, every alt has their day. We don't have to time it. They're just followers. The difference is the percentage movement is different. Okay, so if you have good flavors in your package, in your bouquet, that's good enough. Okay, but having only one coin, one guy said, I have a bag of X coin and Y coin. So means having two coin is kind of a risk. Means you're dependent on only two coins. I think that in my point of view, 4-5 coin makes sense. I think you have to think that each coin would have average weighted of 20%, which is okay. Going above 20%, I think it is potential risk, because you have to think that what if that it goes down by X percentage, then how much portfolio will be impacted and all those things. So proportion of percentage is very important per coin level. If it is about 20, then consider you are at risk. And also fast moving coin, pumping coin is 20% or even 20%, that's also risk. But there are people who say, I want to take risk. So no answer for them. Okay. Atom, like nice. This week, not much of a participation, not bad, but holding it up. AVAX, you can see it's going to break above, right? It's attempting to break above the orange, very positive. BNB, not much of a movement, fine. Maybe this is not the week. Last week was also like that. CRO is also not pumping at this moment, which is fine, holding up the support. Doge is having some, no, Doge is also weekly level, not. Yeah, daily, yeah, there's something. But on a weekly, there's nothing at this moment. But this is a crazy coin, right? You know that. It could shoot up 20-25% and you'll see nice green candle. DOT, not bad. And DOT is not a pumping coin by nature from a historical point of view. There were a few weeks where it pumped a lot, but usually what I see here is this is not a coin which pumps in a big way. EGLD, nice. You see, it went down this week, but got a support. And now it's trying to break above this. So one could imagine the next is the orange level, right? And we are going through alphabetically. So if you want to refer this, you can go back to this video and quickly fast forward. I'm not maintaining that page. It's so tedious. So there's reaction to the orange. Makes sense, right? It always respects valid resistance. When I say respects, means it reacts. There are three kind of reaction, as I said. Consolidate in a very close by range, retraces and tries to touch the prior support. And that is second scenario. And third scenario is, of course, the reversal. Means that resistance becomes the top. So these are the three scenarios. So this is the first scenario where it's just a little bit of, you know, correction and narrow range in a narrow range. So this is again, there is nothing much for Filecoin. It has fantastic week. Last 4 weeks amazing. Right. So this is really doing well. If you look at the down, even it has gone down a lot, but I see continue this is a V-shaped recovery. Right. So this is some time spent here maybe, and then another leg up. Yeah, so looking good. Look at that. Amazing move, right? So this is what happens. Big move like this changes everything. This was last week was like, okay, it was on support. Look at this. Broke about orange and now reacted nearby this prior support. So of course we can say it wants to go for the R1. I haven't labeled them yet, but I'll start doing it. I think I have done it for which coin recently? R2 I gave it for FTM, I think, yeah. R2, R3 I shared. It came very close, but not bad. Okay, so FTM broke about 2 weeks ago, right? This and amazing for last 4 weeks. We can see this momentum there. HNT reacted, consolidating, and this coin moves a lot on both the sides. So one has to understand the nature of different coin, and it's not complicated. I mean, you can simply put into three different categories. Again, it's not a rule, or you don't need my input. That category could be anything that is like Bitcoin, Ethereum, DOT kind of a category where they move up, but you will never see their movement of 20%. You will never see them. Recall when it moved in a day. Never. So that kind of a thing. So that's one category. Another category is 20% to 50%. Another category or something like that. And third category is ultra, like 50, 60, 100, that kind of thing. So in active coin, we don't keep those kind of a ultra one because this is a long-term trend and it's not required. We have tried and doing that stuff sometimes. Oh, and they cannot time. We cannot time those as well. They sometimes go up 50, 100%, and you cannot really time it. Anyway, so that's not a big deal. And it's not going to do 100% all the times, 100% in a month, something like that. And this coin might do lesser, but in a month they'll catch up. This is what happens in a long run. These coins catch up. Okay, KCS, positive consolidation. So another leg up, right? Another leg up is expected, touching this or maybe beyond this on a weekly time frame. Link is still in consolidation. Not There's no big movement, but steady progress. Still, this is still within a cluster. So I think the real fun will be when it breaks above the orange level. Then, then we'll see. This coin is not a big mover like in past. It no longer a big mover. But yeah, not bad. Okay, beautiful, right? Matic. So it completed this pattern beautifully with this. It's almost there. So this is beautiful, and we have the next one, so I don't have to work on it. So this is doing amazingly well. Sandcoin is taking its time. So this week there's nothing on Sandcoin. Fine, but in a great position. Sol is also taking time at this level. Now I can remove this level. Is that not required? I'll just clean up. Okay. Right. So this is very positive, as you could see. So next breakout should give us next 29 or potentially about 30. Yeah. So the direction is up, right? So these are like um, consolidation is positive, right? So often people chase the coin which is pumping, and I say if it already pumped, then probabilistically focusing on those which are consolidating for 1 or 2 weeks and not made a big move has a greater potential, because then you see you will get a breakout without timing it. Yeah. If coin has already gone up 20% and back to back 20-30%, and if I have to put money, then I would probably think, okay, which one was really good but right now in consolidation. That means it's taking time, gathering energy, right? Because no coin goes up forever. Okay. There is always a phase where it gathers energy, we call consolidation phase, and then shoots up. You cannot time it, but it shoots up if the trend maintains. That's how. So Sol coin, we had highlighted, it has gone up by 180%. So of course it's going to take some rest, and then, but when this period is over, it's going to come up with another leg up, and that's where traders get benefit of their patience. Okay, so it's like that. So I think with that note, our analysis is complete. I believe I covered everything. This was lengthy, but I think it was worth. We covered a lot of things, so hope you liked it. I'll stop the recording and open Q&A.